Well, I just go, listen to the sermon, and leave. Oh, you see what I mean? When we treat... I'm going to get fired up on this one. Question, Pastor. So I'm so lost in life. Where do I even begin finding Christ again? Ooh, that's a big one. The first thing I would ask is, are you in a consistent Christian community and fellowship, like a church, a small group, or anything like that? What about your friends and family? Are your friends and family Christians? It makes a big difference to have people who are trying to walk the same walk as you are. It's very, very difficult to walk the Christian life, and if you don't surround yourself with people who are simultaneously trying to do the same, it makes it all the more difficult. It's nearly impossible in that sense. So that's the first thing I would ask. Take a look at your surroundings, and I don't mean where you're currently sitting, but I mean your life, how it's set up. Your family, your friends, your direct community. You go to church, your coworkers, the people you spend time with, the people you hang out with. What is the level of Christian emphasis in those areas? It says, I was growing up, but I stopped once I got to my teens. I haven't been to church in years, just surrounded by negative energy. See, I think that's a big key. That's a big key is you want to surround yourself, like you said, you're surrounded by negative energy. That's just going to drag you down. That negative energy is not going to be conducive to growth and development in your Christian walk. So that's part of why Christ seems so far. You need to make endeavors towards grounding yourself in communities that have that influence, that have that emphasis. That'd be one of the keys. Now, I will say this: these online communities are a very good start, very, very good start. So I'm not going to beat you over the head and say get to church, right? I think that would be helpful, but let's be honest. Oftentimes, local churches are not very conducive to Christian growth and discipleship. They're not. I actually had a conversation with somebody this week who stopped coming to my church because he wanted to go to a different church. Fair enough, no problem. Well, he called me up and he said, I'm really struggling with a lot of things right now. And I said, why don't you go ask your pastor? And he said, because he doesn't know anything about me. I'm like, you've been going to that church for months. What do you mean he doesn't know anything about you? Well, I just go, listen to the sermon, and leave. Oh, you see what I mean? When we treat... I'm going to get fired up on this one. This is very typical of Christians in America, okay? When we treat church as a consumer product that is entirely up to us, when we're going to consume it, what we're going to do with it, all of those things, we suck a lot of the benefit out of church. When you treat church like you treat stores when you go to the mall. I don't know if anyone goes to malls anymore, do they? I might be showing my age. But you go to the mall. Do I want to go into the JCPenney's? Do I want to go into the Spencer's? Am I going to go to Macy's? If you treat church that same way, which church do I want to go to? Do I feel like going at all? Etc. And instead of getting plugged in and involved in the community, you just go, consume the sermon, and leave. You aren't gaining some of the key benefits of Christianity when you treat church that way. And I think 90+% of Americans treat church that way. That's what they do. Instead, what is needed to resolve the dilemma that you're bringing up, the negative energy around you, the fact that Christ seems far away, in order to resolve those things, you don't need to just go to church. You don't need to just consume church like a typical American. What you need to do is get involved in true Christian community and discipleship. And that's different. That can be found in churches, but it's not de facto that if you go to church, you're going to receive that. And so here's what I'm going to say. I would encourage you, if you can't go to a church to get that, or it's going to be difficult to do that, at least seek out Christian discipleship, community, fellowship, etc. in online communities. And you can find these in places like streams, discords, etc. And if you start with that, if you begin with that, I think you will find a lot of the negative energy starts getting displaced by Christ. But this is not an easy, simple process. It's not something that's just done in an instant. It's something that takes time and you have to develop. So that's what I would say. It says, I feel like I need to find new IRL friends who love God and trust in Jesus. It makes a big difference. Paul says in 2 Corinthians, he says, what fellowship does light have with darkness? And that's what he means, is that oftentimes who we choose to surround ourselves with will affect us immensely in terms of how we live our lives. The Bible says in Proverbs that bad company corrupts good morals. You could have good morals, you could have a good attitude, outlook, you want to follow Jesus with your life, but if you're keeping bad company, they're going to corrupt you. Now, that's not always 100% of the case. This is partially dependent on how strong you are in your faith and how much you're grown. I would like to think, maybe this isn't always true, but I would like to think that a mature believer, if they were interacting with unbelievers, would have more of an impact on the unbelievers than the unbelievers are having an impact onto them. But you have to be a very strong Christian soldier in order to march into the front lines of battle and come out victorious. You see what I mean? If you are not equipped with the armor of God, if you are not familiar with the tactics of the enemy, and if you are not strong and firm in your own faith and foundation, you'll march into that battle and you will fall, which is not what any of us want to do. Tommy says, can you be a good Christian and go to heaven without going to church every Sunday? Yes, but you are unnecessarily hampering yourself in your walk. Think of the Christian walk as a marathon. We're running a marathon, and you need to cross the finish line at the end. Can you run a marathon with only one leg? Yes. Yes, you can. In fact, you guys might have seen documentaries of people doing that very thing. But guess what? When they made it across the finish line, it was a momentous affair. Why? Because everyone expected that with only one leg, he wouldn't be able to make it. The same goes for our Christian growth and discipleship. If you try to do this Christian walk without community, without fellowship, without church, you're unnecessarily hindering and hampering yourself in the race. And if you want to finish strong and ensure that you finish, just like Paul tells us to do, you should seek out that Christian community and fellowship. Hey guys, Pastor Tanner here, and I firmly believe that iron sharpens iron. One of the important ways that we can all grow as Christians is to interact with one another. To that end, we have a link down below to our Twitch and our Discord where you can interact with us more in real time, either live or through that conversation. So please come join those platforms if you're interested. Take care. God bless. Bye now.